Hello and welcome back. I am here again with some of the Anxioneers who helped me and kept me company as I was writing the book Embracing Anxiety. And we're going to talk today about a practice that we all use called resourcing and how we use resourcing with anxiety. Next to me on my screen is Pia Ault. She is a licensed DEI trainer, and DEI is Dynamic Emotional Integration. Pia is from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Below her is my friend, Andrea Watkins, who is a licensed dynamic emotional integration trainer and consultant from Colorado. And then below me on my screen is my friend, they're all my friends, Jennifer Asdorian, who is a licensed dynamic emotional integration trainer and consultant from Washington, D.C. And welcome to all of you from all of the places in the world. We're talking about resourcing, which for me was a really important practice to bring into anxiety, because there are many, many times in our lives when we need to be anxious. We need to have that energy. We need to be focused. We need to be not calm. Do you know what I mean? We need to get the work done. Hit your deadlines, do your tasks, gather your stuff. It's not a time to be chilled out, because that would be going against what anxiety needs to do, right? But for a lot of people, when they have anxiety, they just want to shut it down. They just want to calm it down and shut it down. I would like a different emotion right now. And it's not very respectful to anxiety. So resourcing is a form of an open focus meditation that helps you have both things. You have your anxiety and you have other things as well. So your whole entire psyche isn't on the anxiety train. You're doing anxiety, but you also have other things. And we were talking about, when do you use resourcing? You can raise your hand or I can call on you. Andrea, you were talking about what a lot of people are doing, which is doing something new or giving something up during the pandemic. And yours was um,
Coffee.
coffee, which can create more anxiety for people,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
It was creating more anxiety for me.
Okay.
And I started noticing this body movement in myself where I was coming up and my eyes would get right. And I was in and I was focused, but I also had this like movement back. So I was noticing a little bit of panic maybe starting to surface with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started resourcing to help me find that calm, stable, centered focus instead of that really hyperactivated focus.
Mm-hmm. So were you able to stay with a reasonable anxiety focus and also have the calm and stable thing?
I noticed that I was able to move into like asking myself what's really important right now to get done, what really needs to happen right now. And then I could softly move to those things, still with a heightened upward activated energy. And I was completing things a little bit more in a more organized way rather than pinging all over the place once I started resourcing.
Thank you. I like that. I like that. And then Pia, you could tell a different story, but you were talking about resourcing when your horse Lola was feeling very afraid and anxious about what's going on. Like too much was coming in for Lola. What do you do then?
Well, not so much only with my horse, but I think we were speaking about how do we manage and regulate our own anxiety when we're picking up other people's anxiety or other people's, messy emotions, to them messy emotions, right? They're all over the place. And in fact, a lot of my clients, because I'm a coach, so a lot of my clients are in a very uncertain period right now with COVID.
Yeah.
And it's about, figuring out what are they feeling and what am I feeling and how do I regulate myself, because I'm not here to regulate them for them, right? So what I do with my horse is I have to resource into my body, find, and in this case, it's my seat. So my seat in the saddle, calm down, that's where the strengths are. Then with the people around me, when I'm coaching, it's about finding, and it's usually my solar plexus, where my strength is and where I'm balanced from. And I find that when I'm resourcing from there and I can calm myself down, then it's almost like I'm contagious to others around me, right? Like I can center, and then I can spread that calmness or that resourcing to others. Whether it's happening or not, I don't know, but I'm sensing that at least I'm resourcing my own anxiety if I happen to be taking on the anxiety from others.
I really like that, because we do affect each other. We really do affect each other. I was remembering people who have a lot of clocks in a room will notice that the clocks will begin to tick with each other every now and then, and then they'll go back out. But there's something about a resonance. There's like a harmonic resonance that happens with people. Like you'll notice when people are sitting together, one person will cross their legs and then everybody will cross their leg. It's like we mimic each other constantly. So if there's one person in the space who's able to resource and get calm, then that would give people an option. Like, oh, I could do that too. Yeah. And one of the things when you were talking is with resourcing, you find a place in your body. We use different words, but it could be that feels strong, stable, or resourceful right now, or calm, relaxed, and grounded, whatever words work for us. So instead of trying to get away from our bodies and get away from the situation and get away from our sensations, because what Andrea was talking about is like lifting up and out of yourself as your anxiety, and you're just you're not grounded anymore, you're leaving. And so resourcing is like, well, where in my body, it could be my elbow, or my shoulder, where in my body do I feel strong and grounded and resourceful? And just focus on that, not to erase the anxiety, but to open up your focus and say, I have more than one thing going on, and it's okay. It's a way to start working with all emotions, I think. And Jennifer, you were talking about a daily practice or a nightly practice.
Yes, a nightly practice. Well, as we're talking, it sort of even became clearer. So I have had and worked with insomnia for, it feels like, my whole life. And as we started working with the emotions and I started to understand and befriend anxiety, I had a sort of a counter relationship to anxiety. I used to always try to shut it down at night. And I was really angry about having it, and I didn't want to have it because it was making me think about my sleep and would I get enough sleep. And as I found resourcing through this work, I could become more friendly with anxiety, where I would be able to notice it. Right now, the pattern is about 3 a.m. I may wake up and my anxiety says, we have things to do. And in the past, that would really have upset me. And I would have gotten very dysregulated emotionally. And the rest of the night, I would not sleep. And now I kind of heard anxiety come up. I did a little bit of resourcing, trying to find in my body what was needing rest. Where was a place that was really restful, and where was the anxiety. And what was interesting about this last time is that when I was able to kind of balance it out and sense a little bit more into the anxiety and what did it really need, and it asked me to write something down. And so I did. And, I have a notebook by my bed, but in the past, if I would have always been like, oh, I don't want to do that, I'm never going to sleep. But it was very simple. It was a simple request, and I could feel in my body it was time to do it. So I did it. And then I resourced again, and then I could fall off to sleep. And it was it was inspiring to me, because I can get rigid about my sleep, and I can get thinking I'm not going to have enough hours. But here it was such a gentle practice of, I was still tired, but there was something that needed to be, the anxiety really needed it to be attended to. And so it felt very loving, like I could really listen and not get riled up. And it actually kept me in a space where I could then fall off to sleep. And it was useful. Like, I ended up looking at what I wrote the next day, and it reminded me of something I did have to do. So it was the best way I could use my resourcing and be friendly with my anxiety and not become wanting to fight with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that so much is what I saw as I was doing the research for this book, is people hate anxiety. They hate it. And like Andrea was talking about, they also, it's very connected with panic, and they sort of don't know the difference between the two. And so what I've been saying as I've been talking about the book is, if there's any sense of dread or danger, there's panic there, right? And panic is a perfectly valid emotion, but it's not anxiety. And so anxiety is about getting your tasks done. And I like that your anxiety is like, will you write this down for me? like, like your anxiety's assistant. Will you? Because I don't have an arm, but you do. But I really like this approach of, hearing each of you using anxiety in a friendly and loving way, in a way that you're embracing this brilliant intelligence inside you, even if it gets a lot of energy going, even if it wakes you up at night, that resourcing can help create a more peaceful inner self that has room for everything, rather than, I have to be peaceful, which means no emotions except for happiness. That's all I want right now, right? So we just, Jennifer?
Yeah, I really resonate so much with that concept of having room, because I think over time, the more I use resourcing, I think Andrea and I were talking about this earlier, it widens your capacity to hold different things, more and more troubling things side by side. And it grows a capacity that I find very interesting over time, that it was very specific when I first started, and now I can really hold things, difficult things that are hard to line up, but I have because of this practice, I have much more capacity.
Yeah, I think that's something very unusual. I'm writing a different book now, and it's very difficult to write. And I just went through some just really intense emotions with it, and, really intense emotions. And usually that would say to people, you need to stop writing this book. Like, walk away. It's too painful. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you're feeling that much about it, you don't need to do it. And I realized, no, the emotions were trying to tell me something that was really important and that I needed to put in the book. But I was just fascinated to watch it in myself, that I was feeling very intense things and thinking, what's wrong with me? I was like, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong with you. What you're doing is hard. And so these emotions are trying to come and help you identify what's hard and move through it. And I just think of how many people are stopped by their emotions because they don't know that there's genius there, and that we need to embrace them. Pia?
Something resonated with me, what you were just saying, that what I think people need right now, because we are so isolated, right? We've been through, I don't think I've been outside my door for more than, a handful of times, just to grocery shopping or pharmacy or something. It's very limited. Even though we can, I'm still stuck at home. And I think a lot of people are used to dealing with their emotions with others, right? So they need somebody to talk to, even if it's their husband or spouse or partner or children. And a lot of us haven't had that. So the ability to resource and find something within yourself and be your own body, your own buddy in your own body.
Body buddy.
I'm finding that's where, that's helping me, because otherwise I can't just pick up the phone and, call somebody, or, call a lifeline, or, or have somebody close to say, hey, by the way, I'm feeling this, you know, really intensely right now. What, you know, and just talk it out. So to go inwards in your own body, finding the strength wherever it is, and just sitting with that and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to sit with that. That's an amazing resource in the resourcing.
The resource of
You know,
resourcing.
the resources of resourcing, yeah.
Sorry. Andrea?
I've been noticing, because I've been home for so long, that it's a little overwhelming to think about leaving my house because it's so comfortable. It's so nice. And when I go out, right, I'm wearing a mask and just noticing what's going on around me, that I need that heightened, like, anxiety to step forward and say, hey girl, you gotta go to the grocery store, it's been a couple weeks. And to be able to harness that energy, because I have a tendency towards depression, and not wanting to leave the house, to harness that energy of anxiety has been helpful for going out and doing the things I need to do in the world right now.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a kind of a lovely thing, is sort of saying, I could use some anxiety right now, which you would never hear any other group of people say this, right? I could really use some.
And I need my panic to stay down. I need
Yeah.
the anxiety to step forward, have the list of what I need, and be efficient in the grocery store and get in and get out, and
Yeah.
without panic.
Yeah. Although I have to say, panic, you know, people are dying. People are dying. So panic would be naturally on the scene, because it's the emotion that comes up when your life is, I mean, you don't want full scale panic while you're shopping.
Yeah,
You're like fight, flee.
I also have that tendency towards rage.
Okay.
Of being angry at people, right? So
Yeah.
when this first started happening, I noticed I was really upset with people around me. And so that was another area of resourcing. I was in the grocery store and I was like, okay, where are you safe? Take 2 steps back, right?
Yeah.
Where is there more space? Can you go get your vegetables first? Can you go do this first?
Yeah.
Right? To keep from wanting to kill people.
To wanting to murder people. And then their panic would come up.
And then all the panic, and then it's a big mess, and
and here we go.
And my groceries don't make it home. And
and they take a photo, and they're videotaping you, and then you're on Facebook and Twitter, and it's all going to hell. So, you know, what I was thinking about resourcing is something I've been noticing is that we're not in a safe place right now. It's not safe, right? We're not in a safe world. The pandemic is here. We are, at least here in the United States, we are now very aware of the extremes of racism and inequality and injustice. It's not safe. And so I see a lot of people not knowing how to think about this, not knowing how to respond, not knowing, and just feeling so unsafe that they're acting in very unhealthy ways. They're not masking up. They're threatening people who are wearing masks. You know, they're just really acting out. And I'm realizing that there's a sense that we all need to feel chill all the time, and that anything that isn't chill is a problem. And so I like this concept of resourcing is you are not safe. Now, where in your body do you feel safe? Not to erase the fact that we're in a pandemic and, you know, America's sort of coming apart at the seams, thank goodness. But how can I go forward during this time of trouble? Right? If the time is, where are areas of equality in me? Where are areas of justice in me? That sort of thing. And I'm finding it's helping me a lot to look at what's true and also know there are other truths as well. And I don't have to erase one to make the other real. I don't know. How about resourcing for America? Let's do it.
well, you bring it up in the Embracing Anxiety, that resourcing is a practice from Peter Levine's work. Mm-hmm. And Peter Levine's work is very centered on resourcing people for social justice
Mhm.
work. So
Yeah.
what you were just talking about is like, just makes it more applicable to where we are in the world right
Yeah.
now in the work, right? And you also talk about the future focus of anxiety. And we don't get to control our future, but we get to contribute to our future in ways that are meaningful to us.
Mhm.
And that's really beautiful with anxiety and resourcing, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. And Pia, when I was talking about the United States, you sat forward. Were you going to say something about other areas?
I'm it's close to home, of course, because my husband's American and my two sons are born there, and I lived there for a great part of my life. So I'm saddened by what's going on there. That's what's coming up for me is sadness. Um, where I live, it seems much more controlled because people are adhering because they have no choice, right? It's like you adhere, you're fined or jailed. So there isn't that sense of, well, you know, you're stepping on my rights and I've got a constitutional right to, well, here you have no rights. And so, and you just know that. And so it's okay. If you don't want to be here, you can just, you know, leave. Well, not
Yeah.
if you could get on a plane and leave. So yeah, Dubai, you know, that's how they're handling the situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but that's bringing a lot of anxiety to people who, because there isn't that safety net. If you lose your job in the US, you do have a safety net, or other areas of the world, right? But if you're in Dubai, if you lose your job, 30 days you're out, your visa is canceled, and that's it, right? So there isn't that social safety net. So I think people are really, really uncertain and anxious here because of that. That's adding to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Jennifer?
I was thinking about how often right now I'm having conversations as people are looking forward, you know, these like and anxieties, welcome there. How are we going to plan for a reopening, or what are our next steps? And there's still so much unknown, of course, and how people very much struggle with holding the unknown, because it seems almost counter to anxiety. Like anxiety is like, no, I have a plan, help you, we're going to accomplish this thing. And then, but then there is still this, well, but we don't know how it's going to look. We don't know how it's going to look. And it can feel, it can just really be so hard for people to hold that. And that's, again, where resourcing kind of helps. Like, here is what's unknown, but here is a known part of my body. And here is where I'm known. And this is what I can do. It's just a very centering thing to be able to do. It doesn't erase this very question of how's this going to go in the future.
Yeah.
But it does allow us to focus on, well, what can I really do right now? What can I do right now? And it can then make that, because I feel many people in conversation will keep cycling in the, but we don't know, but we don't know, but we don't know. And then it can just, they can allow that to kind of evaporate, getting into that cycle or that repetitive thought conversation pattern, where if you can really do some resourcing, it allows you to take the appropriate action that you could in that moment, and also know that there is still change ahead and we don't exactly know. And that's so valuable right now, because I think a lot of people can get really caught up in the, I don't know what's going to happen. And they can feel lost and confused, and they can go into depression, they can go into sadness, like they can then just feel very alone and stuck.
Mm-hmm. Or rage.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people going to rage and hatred too, which feels strong, right? It's not the kind of strength you actually want at this time, but I see where they're going with it, right? Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking about resourcing and anxiety and all the trouble that we're dealing with, and also how to live in a time of extreme trouble. And I don't want to say keep your wits about you, but keep your empathy about you, keep your emotional awareness about you, and know that the emotions are trying to help. The emotions are trying to help Jennifer when they wake you up at 3 a.m. They're trying to help. Thank you. Thank you so much for all three of you for being here. I really appreciate your presence. Thank you, Anxioneers. All right. Bye-bye.